Welcome to another episode of My Surrogacy Journeys podcast, Mexico City Edition Season 2, guiding American intended parents through surrogacy in Mexico City.
Well done.
No. Yes. Oh, Wes will be so proud. So, yeah, how you doing?
Good.
Good? Yeah, I'm really glad to be back. Welcome back to another episode. We're thrilled to be back in your ears. And this time we're going to be talking about Mexican surrogates and all people need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Jess. I am a mom through surrogacy and the membership manager for all of our U.S. intended parents coming to Mexico City.
And I am Michael. I'm one of the co-founders here at My Surrogacy Journey. Me and my husband, Wes, have 2 children through surrogacy in the UK. And we are currently on a journey completing our family with phenomenal surrogates here in Mexico City.
So you have a lot of personal experience as well working with one of our incredible Mexican surrogates.
We do. I'm going to talk about that during this episode.
So this episode is really all about Mexican surrogates because I think a lot of intended parents are going to be very curious and possibly even concerned about surrogates and, anywhere that they're working, but particularly in Mexico City. So shall we
dive in? Let's dive right in.
Yep.
So I think what you're saying is absolutely right. I think, and whether I agree with some of the initial concerns that people have, I think it's certainly okay to be concerned because ultimately you want to make sure the welfare of the person carrying your child is not being compromised.
Absolutely. And I think it's also it's very natural to have those concerns about the welfare and the ethics of the surrogate, but also both of us are intended parents. It's a huge deal to have somebody else carry your baby for you.
But I think regardless of where your surrogate lives,
Yes.
you should have that concern.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, shouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Because, and equally, the surrogate should also be asking the same questions of who are their intended parents.
Yeah.
Because you need to make sure that there's balance in this. And I think for me, what we're going to talk about now is really interesting and often frustrating because of some of the assumptions people will make because of the country that we're currently in. Like, look at it, it's phenomenal. But, we do see an unconscious bias.
Absolutely.
We see people downright ignorance sometimes. And we want to talk about that, really, and just unpick some of that detail.
Absolutely. And I think, some of those feelings and thoughts are completely natural. I will be the first to hold up my hand and admit that when you and Wes first started telling me about your Mexico City program, I had some of that unconscious bias come to the surface, and it took a lot of confronting it. And
what was the first thing? What can you remember? Because I remember us having a conversation. Yeah. What can you remember being something that made you go, oh?
I think to me it was just the ethical concerns, and not ethical concerns about you guys or about My Surrogacy Journey, because I knew what you guys were all about, but I think just the framework of doing surrogacy and introducing surrogacy to a country where to a lot of Americans or to people in Europe is maybe considered a developing country. And, where living standards for some people are maybe a little bit lower. And I've been to Mexico. I have, this is the most horrible thing to say. I have Mexican friends, and I know how terrible that sounds, but I also know that, that unconscious bias, I was tarring everybody in Mexico with the same brush, and it's not something that I'm proud to admit.
But fair play for owning it now. I think this is what, but these are some of the things that we want to talk about, aren't they? These are, I remember talking about the journey that we are now on to people either in the space that we work or to friends. And I remember some of them kind of sitting back a little bit thinking, I'm not sure how comfortable I am. And I'm like, well, I'm super comfortable with this decision, and this is why. This is why I feel incredibly well supported by our surrogate. This is why I am incredibly. She empowers us with this like total autonomy that this woman has over her body and the choices that she's ultimately making here.
And that's so important. And I think so for any, for any of you who are listening, if you have that concern, I think maybe it's not a natural concern, but I think it's okay to have those concerns. And hopefully what we're going to do in this episode is talk through and alleviate some of those concerns, because, talking about how our surrogates come to us, the empowerment that we give them, the choices that they're able to make, the structure of the Mexican legal system.
Yeah.
Looking at things like what is their motivation for becoming a surrogate. And I think motivation is a really big one, because particularly in countries where one might think that the economy is not as strong as it is in other places, money is a common concern, that people are doing this just for the money, right?
And let's just also not forget that surrogacy in the United States, where surrogates are, compensated hugely in some states.
Oh my gosh.
That people do it for the money, and I do genuinely believe there's always that element of altruism. I do think that from speaking to surrogates all over the world, that there is always that pull to want to do it. But let's also not shame someone for wanting to do this for a fee or to be compensated.
Absolutely.
Because I think that we're very quick to jump to that default. And we have to also remember that in other jurisdictions where commercial surrogacy is permitted, we don't tend to pick it then. We tend to pick it here because it's Mexico.
You're absolutely right.
It's a developing world, and all of those, to a degree, ignorant, unconscious biases, if that's even a word.
We'll give it to you.
It is now. It is now.
We've made it one.
So let's dive into who are surrogates, Jess, and how do we find these incredible people that come to us?
Well, I think we're really lucky in that our surrogates kind of come from all walks of life.
Yeah, I do.
There's not one. You can't just pinpoint somebody on a piece of paper and say, "Oh, this woman is going to be surrogate because she's X, Y, and Z." Our surrogates are mothers themselves.
Yeah, they are.
They have families.
Yeah,
most of them work.
Yeah, they do.
And
I think one of the common misconceptions here is, certainly with our organization, we are very aware of maybe some of the reputation Mexico may have had for surrogacy in the past. Yeah. And we want to make sure we set that standard, and we are different, and ensuring that any person who chooses to be a surrogate goes through the level of onboarding and compliance that we are known for globally. And that is a very strict social and economic assessment.
Yeah.
No person should be entering into surrogacy as a means to survive.
No.
And we are not, and we'll never advocate for that.
No.
We will never be that agency.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. These incredibly wonderful women that are being surrogates here are often have careers themselves.
Yes.
And we shouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah.
And I think when people are, it's good to educate them that these are very informed, very empowered, very smart, very independent women.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they feel incredibly empowered by becoming a surrogate, or maybe they've been a surrogate before, and they're on this journey not only for the element of compensation, but also because of how that makes them feel to be a surrogate.
Yeah, it's helping other people and helping themselves and their families at the same time, which I just think is a beautiful thing.
But it's no different than surrogates in the UK. It's no different than surrogates in the USA, Canada. And, again, I want to be really clear that because of how sometimes have viewed either Mexican culture or Mexicans' economy, that, that does not mean to say that these people here are being exploited.
Yeah.
Everyone goes through very strict compliance to ensure that, legal advice, various health assessments, like I've mentioned, social and economic assessments, social worker visits.
Yeah.
So much safeguarding goes in to ensure that these women aren't being coerced.
Yeah, and that's so important. But I think what you said before in that, this is no different to how surrogacy works in commercial and even some altruistic destinations. And it's simply that we are putting a different lens on it because of perceived socioeconomic differences.
Yeah.
And I think that's very much an us
It
challenge.
It is.
Challenge any, I challenge everybody who's listening to this to really check with themselves and think, why is it okay for people, for a woman in the US to do it in a commercial sense?
Yeah.
And why wouldn't it be the same for a woman in Mexico?
Exactly. It shouldn't be.
It really shouldn't.
It really shouldn't. The motivations are the same.
Yeah.
The framework is if not better in terms of here. I mean, some of the additional protections around procreational will and all of the other Supreme Court rulings that we've spoken about on other episodes.
Yeah.
But let's talk about how these incredible surrogates find us. And whether you want to use the term recruit or how these women actively seek us out, it's done a number of ways, isn't it? We are very active on social media.
Mm-hmm.
We have the podcast.
Yes.
I think the very nature that we're a membership-based organization, meaning that we are offering surrogates levels of support that have never been seen in Mexico before. And we're very conscious of that we want to ensure that these people are taken care of and not in a patronizing way, but in a, we've seen surrogacy globally be quite stagnant in terms of benefits to people. And what I think we've been really good at over the years is being really innovative with thinking of some of the ways that we can enrich or enhance someone's journey.
So can you talk a little bit more about what the surrogate experience is?
Of course.
What benefits they get from being a member of our organization?
So we have a gorgeous pathway in all of our e-brochures, which you can find from our website, which is mysurrogacyjourney.com. Or you can follow our Mexican socials and you can reach out to the team there and they can send you what these packs look like. But essentially, the pathway of a surrogate is broken down into 7 stages. And at each stage, there's membership benefits. And it could be the fact that they get their own designated membership manager. The fact that we are so anchored on clinical support. We have nurses in our team, we've got doctors in our team, we've got obstetricians in our team. We've got those with lived experience within our team in Mexico and globally and in the USA and also the UK. That support. We have a premises, we've got boots on the ground, an office location, and surrogates like to come in and really meet the team. We offer things like financial advice for all of our surrogates. So when a surrogate is on this journey, it's a life-changing sum of money. And we want to make sure that sum, if it is going somewhere to save, that they're getting the best type of advice to learn how to either invest that money or to save with that particular fund. That's something that I'm really proud of that we do. The emotional support that we offer surrogates is above and beyond what exists. And the level of clinical education around making sure that these women and people are really empowered by body autonomy. And I'm really proud that our organization does not preach to these people about what they should do with their body, whether they have to have a C-section for their intended parents, whether, this is going to be a double embryo transfer journey. No, that is not cool. We do a lot of work in making sure that these women are empowered into making these decisions and why we make them. And ultimately that they have a choice, whether they match with these intended parents or not. This is not a match where we go, these are going to be your intended parents.
We're not forcing anything
Not at all, not at all. And we've seen that happen in other organizations, and it's not kind of how we work. And we also do a vast amount of clinical screening when we're bringing surrogates through. And any surrogate that doesn't meet some of these requirements, and if we do find things in this journey, that isn't necessarily the end of our communication with that surrogate. When there have been issues where we've found things within someone's obstetrics history, we've referred then that person on for care.
Yeah. Which
You
I
know,
love.
we're not like, see you later, you're not going to be a surrogate for us. You know, that yeah, do you know what I mean? Like these women have children.
Yeah.
And if these are single women, then and we've discovered something through this screening process, we've got a duty of care to these women to make sure that they are healthy and that are getting the care that they need. So we have on 2 occasions referred these women on to next stage elements of care, because we will always do that.
Yeah. Which I love, because not a lot of organizations do that anywhere, let alone in Mexico City, but even in the US.
No, and we've been very clear that because of the network that we have built up, that we take, science and, clinical advice is really important when making decisions. We've got a great network globally, so we can get these people, whether you're an intended parent or whether you're a surrogate, we can get you great care.
Yeah.
We can refer you on to some of the best in the industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, that doesn't stop if your journey doesn't go the way you think it might go. Obviously, things like, life insurances and legal advice, independent legal advice is all included. We offer, oh my gosh.
Well, one of the things that I would like to mention is the support from the team here in Mexico. So one of the things I absolutely love, I think is really important for intended parents who don't live here and aren't able to go to all of those appointments with their surrogate, is that the surrogate has a team member who is her support person, accompanying her to every single appointment.
Yeah.
She gets driven to those appointments in one of our cars.
Yeah.
There's unparalleled physical, emotional support for her throughout the journey.
Absolutely.
She's not just left on her own
to
figure this all out.
Not at all. And I think this is about being respectful, right? And we're based in Palenque, in Mexico City. We have surrogates that come from the Mexico City area. And we make sure that these women are accompanied to their appointments. And like you mentioned, we've got a fleet of vehicles that will pick them up and make sure that they're taken to their appointment safely and securely, and that we have got everything considered and covered. Again, it's just the type of organization that we want to be. It's really easy to do this. Yeah. It's so much easier to do a much kinder thing than to put so much energy into something that is just haphazard or is just not cool.
Exactly.
It's not the organization we're going to be.
No. And one of the other things that I think is just so much fun to see is the surrogates supporting each other.
Yeah.
So all of like the get-togethers and oh my gosh.
Massive shout out to our surrogate team here. Fernanda leads first, she'll kill me for calling her Fernanda. Leads our surrogate team. And, we have brunches every month. We have Pamper Day. So if you're a surrogate and you're matched, we will be doing, you can get your hair done, your nails done, on a monthly basis. We'll bring someone in to the office and we can, get you pampered. We just want to do the right thing it's just, for me, it's really obvious and straightforward to do. But yeah, we do some great events with surrogates to bring them together to share not only what they're doing, but how their journeys are going. And again, we advocate for surrogates and intended parents having direct communication. That is sadly really rare in Mexico. I don't know why you wouldn't want the intended parents having direct contact.
No, because to me that just shows, it just would feel like there's something to hide.
Totally, doesn't it? And like, so we're very much, direct contact is absolutely, and when it comes to paying your expenses, the same. We don't need to be some middleman in that. That just feels a bit ick, that is between the intended parents and the surrogate, and that is how we again are empowering everyone to, in our opinion, do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of that is so important, and I think just speaks to the care and the, how do I put this? The, oh my God, I just had a total brain fart. And I love all of that, and I just think it really speaks to the respect that we as an organization have for our surrogates, for these women who are doing the most incredible thing, because we know we wouldn't have our families without our surrogates.
We wouldn't.
And they're the most incredible women in the world, and they deserve to be pampered beyond belief, in my opinion.
Totally.
You know.
And again, I think it comes back to our organization. You know, we're an organization founded by parents through surrogacy. The number of people within our organization, you know, we're a growing team of nearly 60 people now, and the amount of people that have lived experience through surrogacy and what surrogacy has done for them, their family, you know, these women should be celebrated and be put on this pedestal because they're incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I want to kind of go back to, and we've spoken about, or we've touched on it a little bit, are the motivations for a surrogate to become a surrogate. And I think, again, particularly for people who might have this underlying concern of working and doing cross-border surrogacy or international surrogacy, what would motivate somebody here to be a surrogate?
Quite honestly, you know, surrogacy here can be compensated, and the sum that a surrogate can receive is a life-changing sum of money here in Mexico. So that is a factor.
I don't think it's one that we should shy away from.
No, I don't think we should. But I also think we then, when our surrogates are going through their sort of psycho-evaluations and their social and economic assessments, that they want to do this because they feel empowered as a, you know, the human being to be able to create or complete a family. So that is always still a motivator. And yes, they get paid in the process for doing it. I can speak solely and with confidence that I know Marcella, who's our surrogate, is and has felt really empowered by doing the journey that she's on with us. And yes, you know, she will receive a sum of money that is going to be great for her sons to put them through the education or the next phase of their, and so she's proud that she's doing that. And then she's also got a sense of achievement that she is doing what she feels she was always intended to do. And those were her words recently when we got some great news along our journey, and she was like, I know this is what I was meant to do. And that's just, that level of empowerment is no different. Because we're here. You know, absolutely. You know, whether you're a surrogate in California receiving a sum of money for, that woman is still empowered to do the journey that they're on. Yes, they're getting a fee. And I think that we shouldn't shy away from Mexican surrogates do receive a fee, but they also receive a number of other benefits that are keeping them held along this journey really well. Our clinical team here are phenomenal. So when things don't go according to plan, we have such a robust team of healthcare professionals that support these women like no other organization can.
No, it's absolutely amazing. And I think, you know, kind of going back to the compensation bit, yes, again, there's compensation a lot of places, but actually the amount of compensation that they're getting is a life-changing amount. But when you think about what they are doing for other people and you actually break it down into the time that they're spending, you know, the months that they're pregnant and all of that stuff, you know, gosh, it's actually not, whether you're looking at a US compensation amount or a Mexico City compensation amount.
And we do not set the compensation. Let's be really clear here. You know, the compensation is something that the surrogate and the lawyers they want to make sure that this person is not being exploited, quite rightly so.
Absolutely.
And the surrogate will be going through a contract and be having legal advice all the way through this process. And again, you've got peace of mind there knowing that there is an independent lawyer that is looking out for the needs and the interests of this surrogate. And these independent lawyers looking after these surrogates are absolute warriors themselves in ensuring that no woman is being exploited in this process.
Right.
And that's exactly what we want. We don't want there to be any conflicts of interest with how these surrogates are being taken care of.
Yeah. So in terms of avoiding exploitation,
Yeah.
because for us, and it's not just about our program. We want to set the standard really to make sure that there's no exploitation in surrogacy anywhere, ever. But specifically for the My Surrogacy Journey Mexico program, we've already talked about the independent advice, the independent legal advice, the clinical advice, the socioeconomic assessment that all of our surrogates get. We'll have a separate episode on the specifics of that surrogate screening process. So we'll talk more about that there.
Yeah.
But what are some other safeguards that we put in place to go above and beyond to ensure that our surrogates, there is no exploitation, and there's not even a question of exploitation, that this is about themselves, their autonomy, and their choice, and this is something that they themselves want to do and nobody else.
And so, yeah, we will make sure that there is a social worker assessment, and that's a home visit. We will make sure that, again, anyone else in that household, either over the age of 18 or anyone in that household, will be aware of what this woman is also doing. So there's a support network. So we want to make sure that, again, there's no coercion, that this person who's going to be a surrogate is going to be living in an environment that is going to be safe for that child who's going to be born through this process.
And safe for her, too.
And safe for her, that there is no coercion. We want to make sure that the motivations that she says that she wants to do this is genuine. Just like we want to make sure that the reasons for why intended parents are going through this process are also safeguarded, and there will always be a welfare of the child assessment, because that's what we do, and that's what we make sure is safeguarded here.
You spoke, or you mentioned really, about doing a home visit. Can you talk a little bit about traveling surrogates?
Yes.
Because I think that could potentially be something that intended parents might not have heard of. If they have heard of it, then naturally they'd be concerned about it.
Yes. And we, again, have been very vocal on traveling surrogates. Now, in terms of where surrogates are from within our program, they will be from either Mexico State or Mexico City. We will not be working with surrogates that are outside of those two areas for many reasons. One, we want to make sure that the legal framework that we work to, and when we are putting through the pre-birth order and all of the legal paperwork in for your journey, that it meets the requirements of the secure framework that we work in. What we want to make sure and what we want to safeguard here is that someone is not being coerced into this. For me, a traveling surrogate is a trafficked surrogate.
Yeah.
And we've seen this happen globally. We've seen this happen in Europe. And we see this happen in Mexico. You will see and hear some horrendous stories where women are moved from village to be a surrogate. And we make sure that that is not the case here. Anyone that chooses to be a surrogate with us has to be from one of those two areas, and we want to make sure that they can be visited in their own home, and
that she stays in
that particular location, because it's really important from a birth point of view. It's really crucial from the legal framework element that we're meeting the requirement that's set out by the legal professionals. And there's a whole other podcast episode on the legal requirements.
Yeah, I was about to say there's multiple episodes about
There
that.
And rightly so, right? Do you know what I mean? It's super important.
It's such an important part, but yeah, you're right.
And it's really interesting to actually know, well, why do you only work with surrogates in these two areas when, you've got all of these states all across Mexico? Well, there's a reason. We want to make sure that we're not working with any vulnerable person.
Yeah.
And I say that with absolute respect. We want to make sure that we're working safely with surrogates, with egg donors, with intended parents that are doing all of this for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. So when a surrogate works with us, when she becomes a surrogate, What would you say are her kind of expectations about her journey, about her intended parents, about the kind of contact that she's going to be having with them?
That's, yeah, a great question. I always like to think that surrogates choose us. I like to think that this is their choice, right? They choose to choose us as their organization that's going to support them. You will see very similar to what we see in other jurisdictions. Some surrogates might want to work with a heterosexual couple. Some surrogates might want to work with someone who doesn't have children. Some might want to support someone that wants to complete their family, not start their family. That was the case with Marcella with us. She really wanted to complete a family. So that was really important to her. But the motivations can be, and you have to respect those motivations. They could be religious. They could be only wanting to work with either a same-sex male couple or a heterosexual married couple. They are often the main ones that we see. But again, overwhelmingly, these incredible humans want to do something so empowering for them. And when I've spoken to surrogates previously, when I've said to, there's a lady that works for us in the UK called Hayley, and I've said to Hayley, it's so selfless what you do. And she's like, no, do not think that is the,
Do not put me on that pedestal.
yeah, I'm telling you, I am selfish in this process because I get a dopamine hit. I'm empowered as a woman to know that I can carry a pregnancy really well for someone. And I'm being really selfish in this process because I give myself the biggest hit imaginable. So please don't think I'm being selfish.
Yeah.
Because it's the complete opposite with what I'm doing. Yeah, that's I always find that really interesting.
Yeah. No, it reminds me of a conversation I had with another one of our amazing UK team members who is also a surrogate, Kay. And I asked her once, what I said, I hope you don't mind me asking this, but why did you want to become a surrogate? And she said, it's because it's the most control I have ever had over what I can do with my body. And she's like, I'm really terribly paraphrasing her, and Kay is so eloquent that I do. I'm so sorry, Kay, when you listen to this, but it just struck with me that it just made her feel so incredibly empowered and gave her that complete control. And I thought that was amazing.
And it's choice, isn't it? And I think, wherever your surrogate is based, they have and should always have a choice of what to choose they want to do with their body, whether they want to be an egg donor, whether they want to be a surrogate. This is this celebration of this sort of female empowerment is just, Kay is very good and articulate at putting that across.
Yes.
And
we will do another podcast with Kay so that you can all hear how amazing and eloquent and just powerful
her words,
are.
her way she plays with words is just phenomenal.
And she oversees all of our, our
Ethics.
ethics policies and stuff.
She's head of ethics and policy and strategy. So again, she always applies a lens of ensuring that no person is exploited or left behind in this process. And she's great at that.
Absolutely. And one thing that we've kind of touched on previously is the communication with surrogates. I think a lot of intended parents might be concerned that they won't be able to talk to their surrogate, that there will be a language barrier. One of the things that I love about the benefits that we give to our surrogates as members is that we provide them with a phone. We provide them with the SIM card.
We do.
So that there is no issue with them contacting their intended parents who live overseas.
They're not using their own data. They're using a smartphone where, we've preloaded things on there that are like, in the event of an emergency, there's this insurance company, there's this hospital to head to, our app will be preloaded. And then the WhatsApp group with their intended parents in that we are not in.
Yes.
Let's be really clear.
This is not us trying to oversee anything and
this is
visuals.
Direct contact. And we know that there are several organizations that do not encourage that or don't allow it.
Yes.
We are all about having that. And WhatsApp is so great from a translation point of view. It's, it's perfect to nurture that relationship when language is often an issue.
Absolutely. And I just think, when you're thinking about your future child and being able to show them, I mean, I can show my son the literally thousands
Totally.
of WhatsApp messages and videos and pictures that my surrogate and I sent to each other during,
Same.
his pregnancy is so well
It's,
done.
well, it's a story, isn't it? And it
Beautiful.
there should be a way how we can bring these WhatsApp conversations alive and just tell that thread of the story, because it's, the honesty and, again, just being respectful.
Yeah.
That why wouldn't these people want to have a relationship outside of us
and visit your surrogate.
Mm.
And that's also something that we really encourage.
Yeah.
I love when intended parents come to Mexico, whether that is to create embryos or to do screening. Oh my gosh, meeting your surrogate is just the most incredible thing.
Encourage that. The amount of, like, the team's in tears, the parents are in tears, the surrogate. It's just,
Think about it.
it's the best. It's one of the most beautiful things to witness,
Yeah.
that this is creating life and you're bringing hope potentially to some people where there was so much darkness and sadness, that you can see it all falling into place.
Yeah.
And I think that is just beautiful to be able to witness, regardless of where your surrogate is based, that pure, when you're looking at what is surrogacy, regardless of where we're based, the wonder of it still, I'm still amazed every time I see a surrogate.
They're just the most incredible humans.
They really are. They really are. And as you said, we wouldn't have our gorgeous children if it weren't for these phenomenal women.
No, I will forever be grateful to my surrogate.
And as they are to us as well. That's what Hayley said. She's like, yeah, but I'm really grateful to you.
Yeah.
And it's just this whole, like, you're the best. No, you're the best. It's just, like, amazing.
Right, before we bring ourselves to tears.
Yeah. We do like to cry.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So there's obviously we've covered a huge amount in this episode, but I think there are some specific frequently asked questions that are not the most comfortable, but if you know us, we're not afraid to confront things head on.
No.
So I think these are not necessarily specific concerns for Americans coming to Mexico, but maybe some of them are. But I'm just gonna kind of quick fire some at you. So
I've not seen these, so these I'm quite I was looking down, I was like, oh, these aren't on here, so I go for it. What is she doing? Go for it.
Oh, and I think what is a very natural concern for intended parents, regardless of where they're going to be doing surrogacy, is the surrogate going to want to keep my baby?
The classic.
The classic.
The classic. And my response always is, they've got their own babies. They don't want to be keeping a stranger's baby. This type of stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah.
People have that fear in the UK, in the US.
I had that fear.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
But do you know what I always say, Jess? My argument, not argument, but my statement always back is, well, what if she never hears from you ever again and she's pregnant?
Yeah.
Let's just turn this onto maybe that fear that she's got, and let's just flip this the other way.
Yeah.
And then intended parents go, oh, yeah, I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, well, let's not be so judgmental, and let's not have this unconscious bias that this surrogate, this woman is going to keep a baby.
Yeah.
Because that's not what they do.
Yeah.
And let's have a bit more respect and educate ourselves why these phenomenal people are doing what they're doing. And as well, the added protection here, we have something called procreational will in Mexico, which is really unique. And procreational will, we're going to cover it on a later, so I don't want to give too much away, but procreational will is a real added safeguard for surrogacy here that doesn't exist, I don't think, anywhere. I don't think it exists in the US, doesn't exist in the UK. Surrogates everyone has the right to procreational will. And when they're going through their legal process, a surrogate chooses not to have procreational will, meaning she's not the legal parent when she gives birth. So, yeah, that risk and that fear then is totally removed from the process because of this sort of legal framework and process that we do here.
Amazing. And as Michael said, you'll be able to hear all about
that.
all about the legals. Next question. When a surrogate is pregnant, will she start contacting the parents and asking for more money to keep the baby?
No, is the answer. The way that the contracts are all designed, that the fee and any expenses are all listed in those agreements, and that is all signed by the parties involved, and that surrogate has had independent legal advice to look at that. What we encourage is that direct communication between intended parents and surrogate. You're paying your surrogate direct. We're not involved in that.
We will make sure that you're doing it, by the way.
We absolutely will. And the courts will want to see that we're doing that.
Yeah.
And the court actually like the fact that there's that direct contact paying that, and that we're not involved. But do you know what? If you want to do something great for your surrogate and you want to send an additional gift or do something kind, then you can.
Oh, yeah.
You can do that.
Yes.
But again,
what was I going to say? Little pineapple socks before embryo trade?
yes.
Always.
Well, Jay, get those. Just to, let's not, this is, we're dealing from person to person, and there are going to be nuances, and there might be opportunities where there might be additional expense that's being incurred, more mileage or more travel than what we first thought, because a surrogate might need to go on bed rest sooner than first thought. But all of that would have already been in the contract from the beginning. So you kind of know that there shouldn't be any surprises here because of how the contracting is all planned out.
And the last one.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably do 1,000, but again, we have to limit this episode
do.
because we don't want you guys to be sitting there forever. Will the surrogate have access to the baby after the baby is born? Can the surrogate in 5 years' time turn around and say, nope, I want visitation rights or something like that?
No, not through our program, because again, we go through a very strict framework when it comes to the medical certificate and the birth certificate process. Surrogates can be named, which I think is great, as a gestational carrier. And we go through the process of either pre-birth order.
I was just going to say, where can she be named as a gestational carrier? Because that's not on the birth certificate.
No, it's on the medical certificate.
And I think that's a really important distinction for parents to know.
It is. And but I think it's a really wonderful appreciation and a nod to
oh my gosh, I can't even say that word, an acknowledgement.
Absolutely, that the gestational carrier was surrogate's name, and I think that's wonderful. It's not erasing this person from the journey. I think it's showing you, it's the transparency of your journey. But yes, in terms of, we make sure that the surrogate is not listed as a legal mother on any of the documentation, because we do not want you to be stuck in country longer than necessary. We do not want you to return back to the US with the surrogate still having a legal claim over your child. And that can be really messy, in terms of inheritance, in terms of title, in terms of asylum. You return back to Mexico, not forgetting that child still has a legal parent in that jurisdiction. We won't put that child through that risk.
No.
And that's why our program is very different. And we make sure that the surrogate is not ever listed as a legal parent on any of your documentation.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you so much. I think
we covered a lot, didn't we?
cover a lot.
I was thinking this was going to be a really quick, sorry listener, you've been thinking, this is going to be a really quick one. And then me and Jess are like, yabbering away.
But I think it's so important because surrogates are the heart and soul of what we're able to do. We would not be able to help intended parents without surrogates. And I think it's really important for intended parents, wherever they are looking to do their surrogacy journey, to have all of these considerations in mind about what the surrogate experience is. But again, particularly for Americans coming to Mexico City, a lot of people might have that initial bias, might have those concerns,
Mhm.
even if they don't necessarily, their family and friends might have those. And so I hope this episode has empowered you guys to feel confident
Yeah.
in not only your choice in coming to Mexico City, but the surrogate's choice to be a surrogate.
Totally. And I think it's about showing this person some respect.
Yes.
So let's not assume because they live in a country where the economy is not as strong as where you are, that this is a person being forced in to do this. Or I hate it when people go, oh, these poor, vulnerable women in poverty. And I'm like, that's just gross. That disrespect that you
Yes.
think this person fits that narrative.
Yeah.
When I speak to the surrogates that are they've chosen my surrogacy journey as their agency, that these women are far from poor, vulnerable women. These are fierce
Yes.
warriors.
Can I swear?
Yeah.
They're badass.
They're proper badass,
Yeah.
you know? So let's not pity these people because that's so patronizing.
Yes.
These are
Or patronizing for
patronizing.
our
Yeah, American
listeners.
viewer will be Patreon. I'm not going to do it. I said I'd never do the accent.
No, please.
No, I won't. I promise. But yeah, let's pay these women the respect that they absolutely deserve.
Amazing.
So this was important to get a lot of this off our chest, wasn't it?
I think so.
To really kind of reset and reframe when someone is listening, when you are listening or watching this episode, that this is hopefully educating you as all of these episodes hopefully will.
Yeah. And empowering you to also advocate for surrogacy in Mexico City and advocate for the women who are empowering themselves to make this choice.
So don't forget, everybody, there is another episode available, whether you're listening this via the app, via Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google, or even our YouTube channel. If you are listening and watching from our YouTube channel, please make sure you like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. Yeah, this has been fun. We should do this. We don't need Wes anymore. Just me and you.
Yeah. Love
Okay,
it. Absolutely love it. Well, if you have enjoyed listening to this podcast and you want more information about working with my surrogacy journey, chatting with, to be honest, me more in a consultation, which is totally free, and I clearly love chatting about all things surrogacy. You know, whatever information or questions you have, please head over to www.mysurrogacyjourney.com, and we would absolutely love to help you figure out the best way to build your family.
Absolutely. And this is your journey, remember. This is your pace.
Yeah.
And we encourage you to really, compare, see how do we fit your, are we a good fit for you? And we really want you to take your time with this. So don't feel pressured at all into this journey. So thanks for listening today, Jess. I'm loving this. We're like this
is so much fun.
It's so much fun.
I love it.
Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Feel free to leave a review if this has been really helpful. Until next time, hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.